Welcome to this episode of Built from Broken. As you know, I'm Myrnalina, and this episode is going to be Love Doesn't Heal Everything. Of course, I used to think that if I loved hard enough or stayed loyal long enough or gave more of me, I could heal what was broken in them. But the truth is, love doesn't heal everything. Sometimes it just delays your own rescue. Today's guest is more than just my nephew. He's a survivor in every sense of the word. Miguel is an extraordinary MUA for MAC Cosmetics, where he doesn't just apply beauty, he creates it, often for people who don't yet see it in themselves. But behind the brushes and the bold makeup is a man who's fought his way through some of his darkest nights and his own battles. He's a suicide survivor, a truth seeker, and someone learning to love himself despite the parts that still feel unfinished. So, welcome to Built from Broken, my nephew Miguel.
Hi.
Of course, I want this to be genuine and authentic. And for the audience out there, if you can follow and understand that this is not a right and wrong. This is to right your wrongs and how you feel comfortable with you. So, love doesn't heal everything can mean so much to us because we've had love and we also have failed love. So, he's here not to be perfect, but to be present, real, and raw, and honest about how love doesn't always heal what hurts, but truth, that's where the healing begins. So, knowing that you and I are both in the LGBT community, if you want to call it that, we are not the type of people that embrace the colors and the trends of what our sexuality is because we're not celebrating a trend. This is our life, and it wasn't always pictures and cream when it came to, I wouldn't say coming out story because we've always been ourselves and there was nothing to really hide, but
there was nothing to come out
right
about.
We were able to relate in different generations. So how do you feel family pressure contributed to the trauma in the aspect of our sexuality or yours?
I feel like it was always like a hush hush type of thing. Like it wasn't talked about because it was already known. But also too, it was very like
taboo,
right? Like
we know,
don't ask, don't tell. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? For real. Not that like I was made to feel any certain type of way about anything, because when I came out, if you want to call it that, because it was not a coming out, it was
finally I'm saying what you know.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was like, oh, about time type of thing, Yeah. Can we curse on here?
Yeah.
Okay. It was about time type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like that. So, but at the same time, like, it wasn't talked about, if that makes sense.
Do you feel like watching someone love the wrong person has shaped your own view on how you should love?
Not necessarily love the wrong person, because you can't help who you love, right? Like, you can't help your feelings. However, like, being around certain type of love that is taught to you to be like unconditional, like you love somebody no matter what, and you like never give up on somebody no matter what. Like, it's like a blessing and a curse. I feel like it's like that type of love. To really love somebody unconditional, I feel like there's no such thing. Because to love someone unconditional, you kind of like go against yourself as a person. Does that make sense?
I mean, for me, it's different because I feel like now that I'm in this relationship, after all the trauma that I've been through, I feel like I never really knew what love is, because love does not mean that you disrespect. Love does not mean that you disobey. Love does not mean that you're going behind somebody's back and doing something that you know would hurt them. It's the same thing as being a good character, where you are a good person even when nobody's watching.
Right.
So I feel like within our family, we never really had a good outlook to what love really was, because it was a lot of toxicity, it was a lot of hurt, it was a lot of unhealed trauma that just trickled down into generations.
It's like a lot of things, like if you talk about the family, it's like a lot of different levels to it, I feel like, because again, it's like one thing to love unconditionally, and then it's like one thing to be like, oh, well, that's family. So I feel like a lot of the time, like growing up, things could be forgiven, or things could be overlooked, or things could be swept under the rug. Why? Because that's family. But also too, like sometimes family is the worst ones to do it to you than compared to like a stranger. You see what I'm saying?
Because they know your weaknesses, they know what you like, you don't like, they know how to manipulate you emotionally.
And that's where like that whole toxic shit comes into play. Because it's like, because you are my family, you should be in my corner no matter what, right? But it's not that. But I'm just supposed to forgive you. You hurt me to the core, and you manipulated me, or you used me, or whatever it has to be. Because it can be a plethora of different things, you know. Sometimes family relationships, family bonds are toxic, and I'm just supposed to get over it because you're my family.
Right. It's the same thing. Like, if what I wouldn't allow a stranger to do, I'm not going to do. So speaking on the survival of almost attempting suicide, you could say, is something that I have gone through personally as well. But I don't feel for, and this is just me, I don't know why, but that has never stopped me in my life from continuing to better myself. I just feel like it was something that happened to me. I got over it and I kept going. I guess it's moving along or whatever, but it never really bothered me. It was never really a part of my depression. I was just something that I did at a moment in time of my life. Now, since this is Love Doesn't Heal Everything, when you did your attempt, you was in a relationship at that time, and you was going through, your graduation, your parents being here. In that time frame, how do you think your mindset contributed or didn't contribute to making the ultimate decision, to making that decision at that time?
I feel like my mindset at the time is what was the cause of it. You know, because it was a very stressful time. It was a very dark time. You know, like the relationship that I was in at the time was like my first like serious relationship, like as an openly out gay man and things like that. You know, like around that time, that relationship was troubled, and then like the relationship that I had with like my parents was also like troubled, if you want to say, like not a stranger, not anything like that, you know, but it was like very troubled because it was like a transitional period for me, you know, like it's my first time having a boyfriend and all that kind of stuff.
And it was like the ending of your teenage years into you being a man.
Right. You know, so it was very transitional for me in that time, and I like let it get the best of me, you know, and I became very distracted and things like that. And then my boyfriend at the time and like my mother didn't have the best rapport either, you know, so that was very strenuous on me at that time because it's like the two number one people in my life, you know. And I say it like that because that's what it was for me at the time. Like I was young, my first relationship, you know, that's the love of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like you couldn't tell me nothing about it. So in that time, those were like the two number one people in my life, and I felt very like
in the
middle. How do I accommodate this one without hurting the feelings of the other one, and vice versa?
And the whole time you're just sucking the life out of yourself
to please and accommodate both these people, and at the end of the day, because they are not on good terms, this, no matter how much I try, like it's never going to be enough. It's never going to work. You know what I'm saying? So that goes into me giving away all my pieces that I got to these two people to make them happy. And at the end of the day, I'm not happy. I'm miserable. I'm depressed. I'm stressed the fuck out. I'm going through it. and I don't got no pieces left for me. So that made me to believe again, it was a dark time for me, very stressful situation. I was young. I didn't know like what to do
Yeah,
or
what
like how
direction?
to like how do I handle this, and it's just like, oh my God, if I lose my boyfriend, it's gonna be the end of the world. And again, like like you're young and this is your
Your
first
first
time you're
experience to
going through
everything.
things. And as a gay male or as a queer person in general, like I feel like you never think that like you're gonna get that love. You're never gonna have like that fairy tale storybook relationship. Like that's like it's not option for
Right.
us. If that makes
Right. It
sense.
does.
I know I
I
felt that
understand.
way.
Yeah, me too.
So when I had it, I was like, wow,
And you're trying to hold
I
on to
gotta
it.
hold on to this because I'm never
Gonna
gonna
get
have this
yeah.
again. And that was like not the best way of thinking, but again, I was young and I didn't know any better. So because that happened, I couldn't make this one happy, I couldn't make that one happy, whatever. I thought I was the problem. So I said, you know what? We about to fix this. And I did. I thought like, like if I took my life that there would be no more issue. Cause I felt in that moment like I'm the common denominator, so I'm the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's very toxic, like the dynamics of the relationships that contributed to that certain type of feeling and that contributed to that mindset of the time. So I did. I attempted to take my life.
And thank the Lord he didn't.
I was almost successful. You know what I'm saying? Like I was in the hospital for a month. Like at the time, like I was 17, so I was not even considered like I was still a minor at the time.
Right.
So like I'm just motherfucker that got a beard and shit. You know what I'm saying? But I'm downtown at the children's hospital or whatever. It was a scary time. It was a very scary time. And like after I did it, I regretted it immediately because I became very, very sick, very, very ill, throwing up. I couldn't even hold down water. I couldn't hold down water. I couldn't hold down Gatorade, nothing. And not knowing the type of damage that I did to myself, like I thought like, oh, in a few days, like I'll get over it. Like, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't that. And the and the thing that was worse about it was that like, because like I know I fucked up in that sense because I was feeling it. So I'm just telling her like I'm not feeling good. Like I'm just whatever. So she's like, oh, okay, like regular symptoms of like a cold or a bug or whatever.
Right.
So she's giving me like NyQuil and Dayquil and this and this and that, all type of medication for like cold and flu and all that kind of shit. And that was making me worse. God. I was throwing up. My body was burning. It was on fire. We went to the emergency room like 3 times. And then finally I'm telling them like, it's like back here. Like it's in my back. It's in my back, whatever. And they like ran certain type of tests. And that's when they found out that like my kidneys were damaged. And that's how like everything happened. I got rushed downtown to the children's hospital. I was admitted for a month. They was telling me I was about to have to go like on dialysis and shit. And I was going to have to get like a transplant and all that kind of stuff. I was scared.
I believe it.
I thought I was going to die.
I believe it.
But I'm lucky. I'm lucky because like I got a second chance.
And here we are at the age of
27. This is when I was like 16. This is like what, 11 years ago?
16,
almost
17. So this is a long time. So sharing your story, I have some questions I want to ask you, and they might be a little deep, but again, if you can relate, you can write these questions down and keep them for yourself. This is about healing. There's no right and wrong on letting your emotions go. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and we're going to see how you feel and how you can relate. When did you know you were too far gone to save yourself?
I feel like it was like once I knew, like once I did what I did, like I was too far gone, and it was like no coming back from that. And then once I started feeling the way that I was feeling and stuff, like I knew. I was like, fuck, I fucked up, and it's like the damage is done, and like there's no coming back from it.
Right. When you tried to take your life, what did you hope would be silenced? And what part of you still screaming to be seen?
I guess like I thought that like what would be silenced was like all this like you're not doing enough, or you're not doing this, or you're not doing that. Like everybody was worried about them and how they felt, but nobody was worried about how I felt.
Right.
You know, so I guess I was hoping, thinking that like that would be silenced. And then what was the second part?
And what part of you was still screaming to be seen?
All of it, all of me was begging, wishing, screaming to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. And I think that I still suffer with that to this day. Because I feel like a lot of people don't understand me in the way that I think and the way that I feel and that kind of stuff. But I learned from that situation,
Mhm.
like, you gotta worry about yourself. And you cannot, as much as you yell and scream to somebody how you feel, the louder you get doesn't mean that they're gonna understand any better. And I had to learn that.
Since your attempt, what's the most painful truth about yourself that you had to accept in order to remain from the dark headspace?
That the painful truth, I guess, is like at the end of the day, like you take your life, like you're not here to make a difference, and you're not here to change no shit. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That question is deep. um, what is it again? Tell me.
Since your attempt,
Uh-huh.
what's the most painful truth about yourself you've had to accept in order to remain from going back into that dark headspace?
I guess like no matter how perfect you try to be, because you'll never be perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? So no matter how perfect you try to be, and no matter how much of a people pleaser you try to be, and all that kind of shit, like at the end of the day, there's gonna be somebody that you just cannot please, and that you just cannot make happy.
And in reality, it's not your job to make anybody happy but yourself.
And with all of that at the same, like on the flip side of that, it's also too like you got to be okay with yourself, because it's like you could be the biggest, ripest, juiciest peach that there is, but at the end of the day, there's always gonna be somebody that don't like peaches.
And that also ties into another episode that we're gonna have, or that we did have, called Boundaries or Burnout. And it's basically the same concept. You try to give somebody so much of yourself that you burn yourself out on trying to be somebody else's why or somebody else's happiness, when it is not anyone's job to make anyone happy but themselves. You have to be your biggest critic, you have to be your biggest competition, because you cannot run from you. So all the mistakes that you try to hide, eventually you're going to end up having to face them one day, and it could either make you or break you. And sadly, there are a lot of people that their emotions have broke. When people compliment you now, your talent, your light, your presence, do you believe them, or do you still see yourself as broken underneath the glam?
I feel like it's 50-50, because I know that I'm talented. I know that I have a certain skill set and a certain level of whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that. But however come, or like, and I know that I look good or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? I take care of myself, but I'm very proud of the way that I look and things like that. However, sometimes like you don't feel the most confident on some days, and then somebody give you a compliment or whatever, and you be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're just saying that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think it's a work in progress. I believe what they say, but I don't necessarily always feel on the same accord of a compliment that I'm receiving, but at the end of the day, that's that's your perception
Right.
of it, so I will acknowledge that, even though I might not agree.
Right. Do you think you ever confuse being chosen for being valued?
Yes, all the time. Because again, like it comes down to like giving yourself to somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you choose me, you pick me, whatever. So that must mean something.
Right. But then there was no value.
But there was no value because you picked me, you chose me, but it was just a choice that you had to make. Everybody has to make choices.
Do you feel that a lack of self-confidence is another reason why you're so quick to jump when someone compliments you? Because you're not strong enough within yourself to know that anybody can compliment you. That doesn't mean that they value you. They're just choosing you for the benefit of either being chosen or just to say, I got that person with no value. Do you think your stance with yourself needs to be stronger before you allow someone to either choose you or value you? That way, when you're confident enough with you, you can tell the difference.
I feel like, again, 50-50. Like yes and no. Because like I said, there's certain days where I don't necessarily feel the most confident.
Right.
And there's days where what? You can't tell me nothing. What? I'm a dime, she a penny. You know what I'm saying? But there's also 2 days where I'm just like, ew, I'm not even gonna look at myself in the mirror because I don't even want to see that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's natural. I think everybody goes through that at one point or another. However, if I am feeling a little down or feeling a certain type of way with myself and I get a compliment from a man, not a woman, because women compliment me all day, every day. To me, it's just like, oh, thank you. Oh, you're so sweet. You're so nice, whatever. But to get a compliment from a man, I'm like, oh, so you like me. You know what I'm saying? Right. And it's that. Because I feel like a lot of the time, too, like, something that I'm trying to work on, but a lot of the time, like, I feel like I do seek validation through men. Oh, you think I look good? Oh, you think I'm sexy? Oh, you want to jump my bones or whatever. To me, that's like, oh, you like me. Mm-hmm. And then that's where I start running into problems with relationships or situationships or like talking to people where they're not trying to do that.
That's true.
So now I'm like, oh, so you don't like me. You must not like me. If you don't want to take it there to that level, then you don't like me. But it's not that. That's because my mind is triggered, or not triggered, wired to think a certain way.
That makes sense. That's why I'm saying sometimes when people show you the slightest bit of interest, it could be just a show of endearment. Just, oh my God, you're a very beautiful man, and it's like, it could also go back to the trauma, how we're real quick to jump and say, oh my God, this person's so into me, and it's not even that.
And it's not even that. They just being nice.
Right.
That's my toxic trait. You be nice to me. I'm like, oh, you like like it's bad. It's bad.
This week's strength tool is about recognizing, releasing, and rebuilding. So for those that like to use a strength tool as a way to point them in the right direction for week to week, for recognize, you can write, who am I trying to heal that keeps reopening me? For your release, you could write their name, write your pain, burn it, drown it, flush it, do as you please with it. And to rebuild, reaffirm this daily. You could also have your daily affirmations to say, I am not a savior. I am not a sponge. I am not disposable. I am healing, not proving. For those of you that like to journal prompt, you can also, this could be your questions. How did I try to love into changing? And what did I abandon in myself trying to stay? In closing, sometimes the hardest part of surviving is realizing the love you couldn't give or even save yourself. But healing isn't about who stayed. It's about who you're becoming now that you chose to. I want to thank my nephew for giving me the opportunity to dive deep in something that means a lot to him, something that I have never really heard him talk about. And for those people who have survived an attempt at their life, I applaud you. I'm grateful that you're here. You are loved, you are seen, and you are very important not only to the people around you, but to the world that sees you. So I want you to know that you're great and keep tuning in and building yourself up from broken. Thank you and have a good day.